All right, guys, welcome to part 2 of the Frank Fernandez Show. We're here live May 24th, 2010 at the Lizard Pit. If you're going to email the show, fernandezshow@yahoo.com. We're going to get back to our discussion, which was basketball. And we're talking about the power, the domination of the Lakers in Boston within the last 3 seasons, which is pretty much has gone so far in the last 2 seasons back and forth between championships. And now they're on a head-to-head collision course to meet again for the 3rd straight season in the NBA Finals. So, yeah, David, so this season, I mean, they're all healthy again, so they're kind of showing their power and what it is. And they kind of made the playoffs like the hockey teams did. In hockey, you have the 7th and 8th team in the East going into the Eastern Conference Finals. And Boston had the mentality of saying, let's just get in, and whatever happens, happens. But once you're in, you're in. Because the whole problem of it is getting in. An 8th seed that's had up and down season all year can make it to the finals if they just end up getting the right course of teams.
Mm-hmm. No, it's true. It's true. But, I mean, you can't say the Suns are a pushover. You can't say Orlando was a pushover up until about 3 days ago or 4 days ago.
And
I mean, you couldn't say any of these guys were straight pushovers. I mean, Dallas, they proved they can't win it. They proved it.
David, let me cut you off before you keep going. I never ever said that they're pushovers, and I don't think anybody has ever said they're pushovers. It's just amazing that they just shoot. I mean, they beat Atlanta by 20 points per game last series, and now all of a sudden this series they show up and it's like they've never played before. I mean, you have Dwight Howard posting up. He can't post up against anybody. If you can't post up against Big Baby, dude, you're supposed to be one of the defensive player of the year and one of the better players in basketball, and you're just not there, man. He's just not there. So what do you say? They're not a pushover. I've seen this team. This team has played the best basketball in the last month, but they're just not. They just didn't show up in the conference finals. So there's nothing you could say. They just didn't show up.
Exactly, but you have to show up in the playoffs. If you can't win playoffs, what's the point in getting to the playoffs?
That's the problem they're having with Cleveland. Cleveland, yes, they're a great regular season team. But their game doesn't work in the playoffs. So right away, I mean, yeah, they looked all right in the first round. They got past the Bulls with no problem, except for 1 game or 2 games there that they had a little bit of a problem as they went into overtime.
They never really actually dominated the Bulls.
Exactly, that's right. They never dominated the Bulls, and now all of a sudden now they play Boston, and Boston makes them look like if they just can't handle it. And that has a lot to do with Cleveland losing their head coach today. Mike Brown got fired, by the way, today. And that has a lot to do with it. You can win all you want in the regular season, but if you can't win in the playoffs, what are you there for? You're wasting time. You're wasting a spot.
If you have a losing season, it gives you a better chance to draft somebody, put you higher in the draft or whatever.
It lets you build more if you try to make me want to go for a further playoff threat. But if you have the best record in the NBA, you should not be manhandled by a number 4 seed the way Cleveland was.
Yeah.
And not be able to dominate a number 8 seed.
And then have that same 4 seed dominate the best looking team.
I mean, well, that has a lot to say against the number 4 seed. So I mean, you can't take that one away from them because that has a lot to say about them. Rondo looked like a video game character. I mean, now going back to Rondo now, see, this 3rd season now, not only are they healthy, but they have a great point guard. I'm going back to my points since I did about 2.5 minutes ago at the start of this tape. Rondo pretty much looks now like, dude, if Boston wins the championship, he's the playoff MVP, the MVP. Because
he stepped up his game to a certain level that his teammates can't keep up.
He has stepped up his game. David has said it right again. He stepped up his game in such a high level that he has at least 2 of the greatest Boston playoff games ever played in this season of playoff games.
Oh yeah.
He showed it against Miami. Miami couldn't handle him. Had a lot to do with why Boston took out Miami the way they did. And he had a lot to show against Cleveland, which was why Mike Brown actually wanted to put LeBron James on Rondo and at the 5th game or the 6th game, the game that they lost.
I mean, the only reason you can't do that is because you're putting your 2 best players against each other. And then you're just going to wear out your players. And somebody's going to dominate between the 2. And if LeBron's not, he's just going to get tired covering them. Rondo's just gonna keep running in circles around him.
Bro, but watching this guy play, man, bro, watching Rondo play, it's like watching somebody play like NBA Live. I mean, this guy dove for a ball on Saturday afternoon or Saturday evening. He dove for a ball, was able to get back up and lay the ball up. How much time do you actually have if you have to dive for the ball, have time to stand up and be able to lay the ball back up?
Yeah, it's like, who's watching you?
It's unreal. It's unreal. That's why all my votes go for this guy for the playoff MVP. Of course, Boston's got to win the championship, and it's too hard to tell, man. You just don't know who's going to show up to the series. I put Orlando so far up.
I don't see them losing. Let's be flat as honest.
I put Orlando so far up against Boston, and Boston just looks unreal. They look like the team to beat.
Well, you know what it's like to have Kevin Garnett actually look up to you when you're Rondo, and it's like, okay, I'm Kevin Garnett, and I have to keep up with somebody else. Okay, it should be the other way around. It's like when you have Kevin Garnett and you have Paul Pierce, they have this young guy scoring 25, 30 points every game. That means they have to step up their game. It's like they're looking like the amateurs, not Rondo. You know, so you're making Kevin Garnett step up his game. You're making Paul Pierce step up his game. You know, and that only makes Rasheed Wallace play better.
And what's so great about it too is that they have depth, and they put in Big Baby to cover for to replace Kevin Garnett, like they did against Game 3 against the Heat. That Garnett was suspended for the game, and Big Baby did it all. He was the star of that Game 3. He did it all that game. So it's. You don't even have to say that he can't. If Garnett goes down, they don't have somebody to cover for him, because they already proved that they do. And even against Dwight Howard can't post up against Big Baby, man, or Kendrick Perkins. And Dwight Howard's supposed to be an all-star, and these two aren't. What's going on?
I don't know. They fell apart. Bottom line, they fell apart.
Let's get away from the playoffs for a little bit. I still got to talk about basketball. I'm not going to change off the subject right now. We're pretty much fired up about it. Mike Brown gets fired today. So this is the first question that came up to my mind. Do the Cavs have a better chance now to land LeBron James now that Mike Brown is gone?
No.
No. Davis says no. Absolutely not. No doubt about it.
No. I mean, because think about it. If he really wanted to do that, he'd just leave for the Knicks and have a whole new start.
Why the Knicks? I thought we already established that he wasn't going to go to New York.
I'm just saying, we're talking about a team that has no coach and nothing else really built around it. I mean, if you're going to stay in Cleveland with a new coach, you're starting from scratch all over again. Your play style is going to be different because you have a new coach. If you go to the Knicks, it's going to be the same squabble. You have no coach, and you're going to
You do have a coach. They got Mike D'Antoni, but it's going to be the way it was when he came into the league. Start from scratch, rebuild around LeBron James.
Even if they had set in stone that they were going to be the team that picks up LeBron in the past 2 seasons, they were preparing for it. They still don't have,
the personnel.
5-year coach. They don't have somebody who's steady with a winning record.
They don't have the personnel.
Bottom line. He has 2 options, in my personal opinion. That's Miami and that's Chicago.
And I agree with David. David's on fire today. And I don't see him going to New York, man. I mean, that's the top 3 places they keep on saying. But LeBron James, wanting to win a ring, is not going to want to go to a rebuilding team.
He's trying to get away from the rebuilding phase. He wants to get... if Boston had an opening to afford LeBron, he'd be there in a second.
He'd be there.
If Lakers could afford him, he'd be there in a second. Why? Because they're championship caliber teams. Miami has proven to be able to get to the playoffs, but we're always missing somebody. We're always missing somebody to get us through the playoffs.
I'm going to get into a point in part 3 of this tape, which is coming up in about another minute, but I don't want to start it off and cut in the middle of the point. But I think New York fans, get it out of your heads. He's not going to New York. There's no way he wants to start in a rebuilding team again. I understand that the reason they say it is because the money's there and the marketing is there. You're going to tell me that he isn't marketable in Cleveland? He signed a $98 million Nike contract before he ever put on an NBA jersey, even in a preseason game. So don't give me that crap that you can't be marketed everywhere. This isn't 1923. This is 2010. So get that crap out of here. We'll see you in part 3.